Oh my goodness. What's up, good people? Mark Holmes here. As always, I want to say thank you all for watching, commenting, subscribing, and being part of the Joe Blue Sports Report. Without you guys, as well as you ladies, you know that this literally does not work. Hope everybody's having a great day. Man, um, I got a nice chunk of salt right here. For any of you that might be feeling a little bit salty. It's actually a little bit early tonight because we had our live stream last night watching the Kansas City Chiefs roll to their fifth victory of the season, 5-0, looking like they're going to be going back to the Super Bowl. At the moment, you see everybody in the AFC's got problems. You know, it's kind of crazy because so many teams that people thought were going to be great teams aren't. That's the thing that I find so funny, that typically what happens is, with the exception of the Cowboys, now this is different if you're Cowboys, but what happens is the polls, the experts, they all look at the teams that were good last year and automatically they say they're going to be good the next year. Even though we know that very few teams go to the Super Bowl and lose and go back. But everybody talked about the Eagles. The Eagles, oh man, you know, they're a great team. They're going to be coming back the next year. They're the odds-on favorite. And what happened? They lost 6 to 7 games. In fact, I think, what is it? They're 3-8 out of their last 11, something like that. They're struggling. They're having a hard time. Right now, San Francisco, the injury bugs happen to them. Everybody said after they lost the Super Bowl, oh, they're going to be coming back and everything else. At the moment, they're 2-3, having just lost at home to the Cardinals. Now, that's not to say that they won't turn it around, but then you saw Miami. Everybody said, oh, Miami's going to be great. Miami, yeah, their coach might get fired. You look at the Jets. Everybody talked about all the talent the Jets have and Aaron Rodgers and everything else, that they're a Super Bowl contender. Right now, they fired their coach. And so what I'm going to say here is we always want something different or something new. We always do. We always believe that the grass is greener on the other side. You know, there's everybody out there that's saying, just get rid of Dak, man. He's a loser. He's a bum. Bring in somebody else. But you look at the landscape right now of all the guys that got paid this year, from Trevor Lawrence, who's the second highest paid player in the history of football, and his coach is on the hot seat right now. Did they finally get a win? Because I think they hadn't won like 9 games straight. Tua's on injured reserve. Tua may never play another game in his life. Who else got paid? Jordan Love got injured. We'll see what we got with Jordan Love. They did get a victory, of course, this past. Did they? No, they lost. They lost to Minnesota, didn't they? So he's not having as much success. But then again, he had a bad first start of the season and a good second part of the season, and his name was made by beating the Cowboys. And you can look around at guys like Justin Herbert, where they anointed him. Lord knows you could look at Deshaun Watson, and the discussion is, should we bench the guy? The problem is for the Cleveland Browns is we owe the guy next year and the year after $72 million a year. We're going to have him sitting on the bench? Basically not. And this brings me to the idea that sometimes change is not always good. And so with Mike McCarthy, I talked earlier today about how Mike McCarthy and Dak Prescott are jiving. How Dak Prescott, instead of hanging out with his teammates, went to Mike McCarthy's family home and hung out with Mike McCarthy the night before in Pittsburgh. You look at Dak Prescott with Mike McCarthy, that they are jiving together very, very well. And the thing is you want your quarterback to be playing great football. And there's no guarantee that getting somebody else is going to be able to jive there. People will say Mike McCarthy's not good enough as a coach, but when you look at what our team has done, and we've all talked about this, bottom tier shopping. And I have to say, the Cowboys have found a lot of diamonds in the rough. Let's be clear. The fact that they found Brandon Aubrey and Kayvon Turpin, from the USFL, those are incredible moves. And I'm not belittling those moves, but you also have to sprinkle it in with a couple of players to top it off, to get you over the hump. And that's the thing where you have an owner that says we got to do more with less, when other teams are at least trying. It doesn't always work out. I mean, you can ask the Eagles, because they thought for sure Devin White would be an answer for their linebacking core. And I can't actually belittle them for missing on that guy any more than I can, for last year when they brought in the guy that I can't remember his name, who was on one leg. They're at least trying to fix the problem. Our problem is we had that problem all last year, and we didn't try to do anything last year about it. And I don't know that you blame the coach on that situation. How many times have we brought in somebody who's been out of football for a couple of years, hasn't been on a roster, a guy who's been a bust? Remember, we're the team that brought in Ryan Leaf, not drafted him, after he was already a bust. We're the guys that bring in the Brandon Whedons. We're the guys that bring in Denzel Mims, who hasn't been on a roster for 2 years and has been a complete bust. That's what we do. And I don't know that you can look at the coach and say, you are the problem. Because the Miami Dolphins were 8-8 with Brian Flores. And he was turning them around. The players loved him. They fire him. They go out and get Mike Williams, hot coordinator from San Francisco, part of the Shanahan tree. Let's get that guy. And then they invest big time money, bringing in Tariq Hill and going out and getting Jalen Ramsey, doing all of these things to try and make the team better. With all of the money that they spent, they even brought in Cedric Wilson from our team that we were too cheap to re-sign. With all of the money that they spent, getting the coach, all of these players, look at that team right now. You can't say that they're better now with Mike Williams than they were Brian Flores. Brian Flores was building something really good there, but wasn't given the chance. And you can look at bringing in another coach. Doug Peterson was good for a year or two. Now you look at it and say, kind of regressed that team. It's kind of gone downhill. Robert Saleh, another one of those young, hot candidates there, right? And how'd that work for you? He's fired. So as much as we look at it and say, I'm sick of Mike McCarthy, take a look at some of the hirings that are going on. Brian Diebold, Giants. Oh, he was thought to be a great hire. Now it's kind of like, meh, maybe not. Maybe not. So I think, honestly, and actually knowing the Joneses, it won't surprise me if Mike McCarthy is rehired. Because that working with this offense, and if this offense is still a top 5 at the end of the year with the running game that we have, I don't know how you turn around and say that guy's the problem. So I want to explain something to you guys too. I am not perfect. I know a lot of you think that I am. I'm not, okay? And I am a big enough of a man to admit that I make a lot of mistakes. And what I do here, I think maybe it's kind of unique. I don't know. But I literally sit down, pop my cell phone, or I sit over here at my desk, turn on the camera, and I just start talking. And it's generally speaking, I may restart the video if I screw it up in a minute or two in, but pretty much it's just raw, or as they call it on YouTube, it's a dirty video. It's unedited. It's not shot 3 or 4 times. There's no producer. There's no script. There's nothing. It's just me. And I will make mistakes. I will say the wrong name. So people have been hitting me and saying how stupid I am because I think instead of saying Denzel Mims, I said Denzel Ward. I think I've said Marshawn Nealon. I think one time I said Marshawn Lynch. This is one of those things that happen with dyslexia. And I'm not looking for any sympathy from anybody or anything else like that. Also, too, I used to do some outlaw shit now. That outlaw shit is I was a wedge buster, special teams, literally running down the field 40 yards, full steam, into a group of about 5 big men. And my job was to stop it, just run head first into it. So that may be part of the problem too. But on top of it, the day after tomorrow at midnight, I'll be 59 years old. So I apologize for making mistakes. Like I said, if I said Denzel Ward instead of Denzel Mims, my mistake. We do the best we can with it. And I will make mistakes. I will butcher up people's names, okay? I will mispronounce them because that's one of the problems that I have. My gift is I can do this. I can see in my mind how to make this go together without a problem. I can look at a blank space and tell you, cabinet here, 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 this is the size they need to go, and calculate all that shit in my head. But if I see the letters and the words and try to put it together, it just looks like a jumbled mess, and I just can't do it. And for the most part in my life, I've learned how to compensate for that. A lot of times I won't know how to spell a word, so I'll think of another word to put in its place that I do know how to spell. Or I'll skip that word. Or if you've heard me read out loud where it's messed up, or sometimes my wife will say, "What is the title on this?" And in my mind, it's one thing, but then when somebody else reads it back, it's like, "No, that's not what I meant." It's like, "Well, that's what you wrote." And that's one of the problems of having dyslexia. And I tell you all this, again, because I'm not looking for sympathy. I tell you all this because I'm not the only person out there that has this issue. And I want you all to know that you can overcome it. And you're not stupid like people will try and make you out to be. Whew. Tomorrow the hurricane's going to hit Florida. I hope all of you got out of its path. I have seen the aftermath of several hurricanes, being a volunteer after it's been over, even a year or 2 years afterwards, where the land is literally scarred. I was listening today, one of the places in North Carolina, after they had been hit by hurricanes some years ago, they ended up putting the water lines 25 feet in the ground, the water mains. And I'm like, 25 feet in the ground? To give you a perspective, you go from the ground outside, that's almost to my roof. the hurricane that just came through still wiped those water lines out. Mother Nature ain't no joke. And it's going to be bad. And this is where we all have to come together to help our fellow man. I pray for everybody that's down there. I pray for everybody who just went through the last one. I always tell you guys, tell the people you love how much you love them. You might not get the chance again, good people. And I love you all. And God willing, we'll all be here tomorrow. Peace out.